We're starting a little late today. Had some technical difficulties. 20 minutes on the phone to tech support to some guy in the night shift in Mumbai, India. It just seems like a year. I'm kidding, of course. I am your host, Ronnie Wright. On the other side of the glass, the Tonto to my Lone Ranger, Ryan, behind the controls. Here in the middle, we're going to have plenty to talk about from the perspective that everybody's wrong. Nobody has a clue to what they're talking about, and the Earth would be a much better place if a giant asteroid hit it. So whether you believe that the music and the arts are worthy of federal funding, whether you believe that the preacher in the movie Footloose was the hero of the story, we're going to have a little bit of something for everybody and everything for nobody. You can join the conversation before, during, after the program by joining us on Twitter at Hey Ronnie Wright. You can email us directly at heyronniewright@gmail.com. You can watch replays on the Harrow Broadcasting Services website or Harrow Broadcasting Services YouTube channel. All right, let's get to the middle of this fucker. So, how unaware do you have to be to ignore reality to suit your point of view? I'm asking for a friend. There's literally a psychological disorder that describes exactly what we see. Oh boy, just about every minute of every day. I mean, today it was Rudy Giuliani being back on the news programs, trying to clean up the lies he told last week, apparently, that sounded like the truth, which was odd, that somebody in the Trump administration was telling the truth. But that didn't last, because the next day he didn't mean anything that he said, and here's what he actually meant. And so he went around today on the What I Meant Sunday tour. And from what I saw, I'm going to guess there's going to be a Monday cleanup too. So what is it that makes people be able to rationalize ignoring facts or truthful statements to suit their point of view? This is actually called cognitive dissonance. And you might have heard it. I know people online like to throw it around as some kind of an insult, to whether it's Trump people yelling at libtards and liberal people yelling at Trump fuckers. But really, there's a definition in medicine, and I'm not a doctor, though I have played one on TV. Well, a medical examiner, but close enough. And it goes like this. Cognitive dissonance is the mental discomfort, also called psychological stress, experienced by a person who simultaneously holds two or more contradictory beliefs, ideas, or values. The occurrence of cognitive dissonance is a consequence of a person performing an action, like going on Fox and Friends, for instance, performing an action that contradicts personal beliefs, ideals, and values, and also occurs when confronted with new information that contradicts said beliefs, ideals, and values. That's a lot of medical mumbo jumbo, so let me give it to you like this. You're a decent person. You have a wife, you've got kids, a family, a job. You believe and you teach your kids that they shouldn't lie, that they shouldn't cheat, shouldn't steal, and thank you for doing that. And you believe that in your core as well, because your father and mother taught you that, and their father, and you're from good stock, and thank you. But you voted for Donald Trump, and that's fine too. But you want to continue to support Donald Trump. But when you're faced with almost overwhelming facts that the guy lies, cheats, and steals, it becomes that cognitive dissonance that kicks in. You start feeling a little funny, that it can't be that you're a good person and you don't like people who lie, cheat, and steal, but the person that you like lies, cheats, and steals. So, you know, what happens is you start having these days where you feel uncomfortable because you're watching the news. So now you watch the news that only tells you the facts that align with your opinion. And you have conversations with someone to point out Trump's lies, and you just walk away from them. You know, you look at the people at law enforcement, justice, FBI, federal prosecutors, judges, and they've showed this professionalism in laying out facts in a case and investigations that the president's incorrect or he lies, and you're not going to listen to that. The news becomes fake. Your friends become ex-friends. The judges and law enforcement are complicit in conspiracy. You know, it becomes almost untenable. It becomes where you just have to live in this little bubble, or else that reality is shattered. And, you know, I had a friend who used to complain about, you know, the whole world is fucked up. Everybody's crazy. You know, this whole, you know, everything is just crazy. And he said it all the time. And finally, one day I said to him, I say, you know what, man, listen to me. I love you, brother. But maybe it's not the whole world. Maybe the whole world's not crazy. Maybe it's just you. So there's a fable called The Fox and the Grapes. You probably heard it by Aesop, you know, Aesop's fables. It's an example of cognitive dissonance and the way that people try and reduce the subversion of their own rationality. And it goes like this. A fox sees these grapes hanging high on the vine, and he wants to eat them, you know, because they're grapes. But he can't reach them. He try as he may, he can't jump high enough. He can't climb the vine. He can't get to them. So he decides, you know what? The fruit, it's probably not worth eating anyway. They're probably sour because they're not ripe, and you know, I didn't really want them anyway. And that literally gave rise to the term sour grapes. So, you know, people who just sit there and say, all presidents lie, everybody bullshits, you know, everybody's, you know, friends with Russians, and everybody has hookers pee on beds and pay off porn stars. You guys are just, you know, you guys are crazy. So listen, I voted for Bill Clinton. I voted for him twice, voted for him proudly, not a problem with it. When he said, I did not have sexual relations with that woman, you know, when he was talking about Monica Lewinsky. No, I believed him. What was not to believe, right? Until facts. You know, then they had people who, you know, Monica Lewinsky came forward and she had friends to corroborate, and they had DNA on her dress. Hey, you know what? Then I said, oh, well, the fucking guy lied. There you go. It was pretty simple. It was hard for me to discard facts. And so when it was presented to me that the guy lied, I said, well, that's disappointing. He's a fucking liar. Good thing he's only got, you know, it was 98, so he only had 2 years left or whatever. And so it was like, you know, you did a decent job, but that was fucked up. You could have just said, yeah, I got a blowjob, and it would have been the end of it. I mean, this guy, well, we won't even compare the two, but just the same. It was easy for me to accept facts once they were given, because I don't suffer from cognitive dissonance. He was impeached, by the way, Bill Clinton, for saying that he didn't have sex when he did, or lying when he was under oath. And it can be proven with facts that it was a lie. He kept his job, but he did get impeached. So only people with cognitive dissonance can rationalize all the things that we see and come to know as facts, you know, day to day. So my advice is seek medical help. It'd be great if you had health insurance, but, you know, talk to a friend. So, speaking of cognitive dissonance, there are some very, let's say, interesting characters that are running for office in the Republican Party this year. And this goes back to my being emboldened by the Trump presidency. So let's talk about Don Blankenship. That's this guy here. Look, he's a stunner. He is. He would probably benefit from some of Sarah Huckabee Sanders' smoky eye. So he's running for Senate in West Virginia. In case you don't know who Don Blankenship is, oh boy. So he was what they call a coal baron. He owned coal mines. He wound up going to jail for a year in connection with a disaster at one of his mines where 29 miners were killed. So, you know, Trump's been telling coal miners he's going to bring jobs back to coal workers. And, you know, this guy's actually delivered jobs to coal workers. Admittedly, it was 29 jobs that became available overnight, but hey, at least he delivered. Anyway, he is a fucking kook. Do you remember Karl Rove? For anybody who's too young to remember Karl Rove, he was the Steve Bannon of the George W. Bush administration. He was the mini-me to George Bush's Dr. Evil. So Karl Rove called Don Blankenship a bigot and a moron. A lot of that going around lately. But if Karl Rove calls you a bigot, yeah, you're a dick. I mean, you know, that is pot, meet the kettle. Kettle, this is the pot. So Blankenship has this awesome campaign ad out. It is magically delicious. It's something that has to be seen to be enjoyed. Do we have that wonderful footage, that campaign ad? We'll talk about it on the other side.
Is it this one?
Let's see.
It's the asshole of the week.
No, not the asshole of the week. There is a link underneath in the show notes.
Oh, Huffington Post?
Yeah, let's see if we got that.
It's currently loading.
Yeah. Yeah, we had some technical problems today. But we'll get it straight. This ad is just...
Liam Donovan posted it?
Who is it?
Pro-life candidate, NRA member.
Yeah, that's the guy, man. It's got to be seen. There we go. Where's the sound on that? I don't know if there was sound on that or not.
There was.
Okay,
yeah.
Very good. So did you catch some of the gems in that particular ad? First, the delivery is wonderful. I mean, looks like that guy's been on camera his entire life. So did you catch it? China people. So, yeah, this is what bigots and morons believe is completely acceptable. China people. So this is... Oh, I went dead in my headphones. Oh, there I am. So how many people were like, oh yeah, China people? Yeah, no problem, Mr. Blankenship. You know, leave that in. Just in case you don't believe he thinks that way. In a follow-up interview after that ad aired, Mr. Blankenship was surprised at people's reactions. From the Washington Post, on Thursday, Blankenship released an ad with a new attack on Mitch McConnell, accusing him of creating, quote, millions of jobs for China people. He went on to defend his use of the term some call racist, at an event Thursday night. According to a report from Roll Call, he said, "We're confused on our staff as to how it can be racist when there's no mention of a race. Now, come now. Now, Spick, Kike, Pocahontas. There's no race in those terms, but I think we can all agree they're racist. Nice try, though. He said, there's no race. Races are Negro. He's starting off really well. Negro, white Caucasian, which is super white. You're white and Caucasian at the same time. Hispanic, ding, ding, ding. He got that right. And Asian. Asian. He knows the term Asian, but he said China people. Quote, there's no mention of a race. I never used a race word. This is wonderful. This is the age that we live in now. I can literally play you back all day long and listen to the racist terms that you use. But okay. So, and I know the word kike, but I say Jew. I know the word wop, but I choose to say Italian. I know the word senator, but I choose to say moronic bigot. Because let's be honest, that's what this guy is. Also, there was a Cocaine Mitch reference at the end there. Did you catch that? That's speaking about Mitch McConnell. No one's sure what that means. But the fact that he said, we'll get rid of Cocaine Mitch for the kids with 2 3-year-olds in his arms was just the icing on the cake. I mean, hey, Grandpa, what does cocaine mean? Yes. So he's your Senate candidate in West Virginia. Don't forget to vote. Fucking people. Oh, my God. All right. So speaking of assholes, it is time for our weekly segment, Asshole of the Week. We want to welcome our first major motion picture sponsor here on The Middle. Why don't we go ahead and play that little clip there?
Now, except for the ratty stash and the pork chops, you're pretty clean shaven for a kid who lives in a trash can. No?
Well, I don't need to shave because it don't grow in right here and right here.
Now, you're telling me that you were so ingrained with white trash DNA that your facial hair actually grows in on its own, all white trashy like that?
I don't know what you're saying, but that's what's going on, yeah.
Of course, we're just kidding. That was a clip from Joe Dirt. And our asshole of the week is Dennis Miller, who was pictured in that clip. A former comedian, is that he was once funny. That was him in the last film he did that made money. Obviously a wildly successful career. Now he tours the country with another hilarious guy, Bill O'Reilly. Oh, that's got to be a laugh riot. So earlier this week, of course, there was the tsunami of outrage against the comedian at the Correspondents' Dinner, Michelle Wolf, who told lots of truthy jokes about the people in the room. I mean, they've been doing this for, I don't know, 50 years or something like that. And why anybody should be shocked that a comedian roasted some of the people in the room. But, fake outrage goes a long way. But in this day and age, to defend a president who says outrageous shit every single day by beating up on a comedian who was hired to be comedian, which, they tell jokes. Not Dennis Miller, however, because Dennis Miller tweeted out, what a hard human being Michelle Wolf is. I'm going to read up on her over the next couple of days, and I will have a few brutally mean jokes about her by Wednesday. What? What kind of that's like, hey, you know what, asshole? I'm going to fucking kick your ass as soon as I go to the gym, work out, and build up some muscles. You stay right there. I'll be right back. I mean, so you can imagine the Twitter sphere fucking blew up on this ridiculous tweet. I mean, come on, man. If you're going to say something, you know, make it funny, make it count. Don't tell me you're going to study. I'm going to study because, you know, that's what comedians do. I'm going to study and then I'm going to riff on this Michelle Wolf person that I don't know about. Yeah, I could show you clips of Dennis Miller at a previous correspondence dinner when one of his SNL alums, Seth Meyers, was hosting, shitting on top of Donald Trump, and Dennis Miller losing his shit laughing at the jokes. I guess the jokes against Donald Trump back then were okay, but now that he's the Republican icon, not okay anymore. You know what? Get a fucking sense of humor again, Dennis Miller. Hey, maybe they'll make a Joe Dirt 3. Here's hoping. Fucking jerk off. All right, May 4th, of course, was, well, it has become Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you. So the Rebel Scum actually has a real-world equivalency in the hashtag resistance crowd. They also literally call themselves Rebel Scum. You can find them throughout the Twitter sphere, resisting the dark side, starring Donald Trump as Emperor Palpatine, Mike Pence as Darth Vader, and Mitch McConnell, shockingly, as Cocaine Mitch. Guest appearances by Rudy Giuliani and the Stormtroopers, and Sarah Huckabee Sanders as Chewbacca. So let's look at some celebrity deaths this week. Burning Man co-founder died at 70 years old. Larry Harvey. His whimsical decision to erect a giant wooden figure and then burn it to the ground. You know, how tripping were you to come up with that idea? Let's go to the desert and burn a stick figure. He created the counterculture celebration known as Burning Man. I don't know about counterculture. Maybe when it started, but now you got to pay like $700 for a ticket. So I'm not sure how much the counterculture is involved. Also, George Michael's family, they're asking people to remove flowers, photos, and other tributes from outside the singer's two homes. He died December 2016, but since his death, people have been leaving all these things outside his two homes, and they're just worried about, you know, the memorial shitting on the neighbors and all that good stuff. So they want people to stop. So, you know, stop leaving flowers for Michael. It's sad, but he's gone. All right. I don't need my warning. I'm going to go ahead and jump into my close here. So this week we're going to talk about leadership in this world, the lack thereof. So what does it mean to be a leader? There's a lot of great examples, thousands of quotes, millions of memes, countless books and programs that are meant to teach leadership. But what is it and how do we define it? I think as a standard for our purposes, let's use the leadership as explained and conveyed in the United States military. Also, what's the difference between leadership and command? The military answers that as well. Military leadership is the process of influencing others to accomplish the mission by providing purpose, direction, and motivation. Command is the authority a person lawfully exercises over subordinates by virtue of his rank and assignment or position. So as much as we have a president who by virtue of his rank and position is lawfully in command, do we have a leader? So let's take a look at the 11 principles of leadership and see how our president stacks up. So take them one by one. Number one, know yourself and seek self-improvement. I'm going to say Trump can't know himself because he does kind of change day to day. And seeking self-improvement, hey, look, if you're the best, you hire the best people, you've got the best words. I don't think there's anywhere to go from there, right? So fuck self-improvement. Be technically and tactically proficient. Well, Donald Trump never worked in government. He lacks the basic knowledge of institutions, constitution, diplomacy, long-term goal planning. So he technically doesn't know shit, which makes him tactically tits on a bull, you know, basically fucking useless. Develop a sense of responsibility among your subordinates. So, if by responsibility you mean feel responsible to cover up and defend Trump at the risk of your own reputation, livelihood, and maybe even your freedom, then check. Make sound and timely decisions. So this guy changes positions during the same sentence. It's happened over and over again. I don't even think there's enough examples. There's too many examples for me to go through. I would take up the whole show. Set an example. That's number 5. Set an example of what not to do is what I'm going to say. Number 6 is know your people and look out for their welfare. So he gives people nicknames like Jeff Sessions is Mr. Magoo and Rod Rosenstein is Mr. Peepers. So I guess he knows his people. Looking out for their welfare. Well, over 40 senior White House officials have left in 15 months. Not to mention the ones who stay or are facing huge legal bills because they stayed. So not really along the lines of looking out for their welfare there. Keep your people informed. So tune into the daily press briefing whenever you can and just watch the flamenco dance of lies performed each day to cover up what the president said that nobody was aware he was going to say. So count the amount of I refer you to, the president's words speak for themselves, I have nothing further to add. So no, they're not informed. Donald Trump is treated very unfairly. So number 8, seek responsibility and take responsibility for your actions is a definite no. I mean, he blames crooked Hillary, lying James Comey, fake news, everything's a witch hunt. Yeah, so seeking responsibility and taking responsibility is a no. Ensure assigned tasks are understood, supervised, and accomplished. He doesn't understand the task. He needs the supervision. Other than a tax cut for corporations, not really that much accomplished. Train your people as a team. That's number 10. A team would imply they make a coordinated effort, and that's just not the case. So 11, employ your team in accordance with its capabilities. Seeing as how he has more firings and resignations, people investigated, walked out by the Secret Service, denied security clearances, pleading guilty to crimes, I'm saying they don't have any capabilities. Look, we've had the great good fortune to be blessed with amazing leaders in American history, from our founding fathers like Washington, Jefferson, and Madison, to leaders of color like Cesar Chavez, Frederick Douglass, and Dr. Martin Luther King. We've had breakthroughs by leaders in their fields like Thomas Edison, Henry Ford, and Alexander Graham Bell. There have been leaders of social change from Susan B. Anthony to Rosa Parks, captains of industrial might like Andrew Carnegie, John Rockefeller, J.P. Morgan, to visionary leaders of things to come from George Washington Carver to the Wright brothers to Steve Jobs. All these people and thousands, millions more are what make America great. They embody what we mean when we say in America that we're all endowed with unlimited potential and opportunity. All these names that you know, great figures in American history, shared some, many, or even all of the values from that 11 leadership principles list. They are what has, does, and will continue to make America great by their words and their deeds, not by a slogan on a hat. And that's all we have for this week's The Middle. We will catch you next week. For Ryan Behind the Glass, for me, Ronnie Wright, we will see you next time. I know to you states are out of suicide. I know